Okay. You join me inside the cabin of the Subaru WRX STI S209. In the 20 years that Subaru has been making S-Line performance models for the Japanese domestic market, they've never come to the US. But not only is this S209 coming to the US, it's exclusively made for the US. All 209 examples are going to be sold here on our shores, and that's pretty special. This is an STI on full flex, and it's also $64,000. So it's kind of targeting the most hardcore Subaru fans and collectors. But let's get into this car. It's going to be a fun one. And here it is. The Subaru WRX STI S209. A very special, very rare WRX STI. This one is painted World Rally Blue. It is one of two colors, only two colors, that you can get the S209 in. You just got the blue, and you have a crystal white pearl. If you get the blue, then you're going to get those matte gray wheels. If you get the crystal white pearl, you're going to get matte gold wheels. Those are the only color options. And in fact, the only options on the whole car. So as I go through this exterior and interior walk around, just note that everything I show you is standard. Standard and still expensive, but rare. All right, now before getting too deep into the exterior and interior walk around and driving impressions, a couple quick announcements. First, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. You'll be giving yourself access to daily uploads, these reviews, live Q&As, walk-arounds, and POV day and night drives for all the cars that I get on a weekly basis, including this one. And that brings me to the next one. If you want to just go watch those walk-arounds or the POV drives for this car and others, you are free to do so. I'm not going to hold you here. But some fun information coming in this review, so maybe stick around. And last but not least, if you have been a follower for a while of the channel, you like the content I make, and you want to support us, you can do so in a couple different ways. I have a Patreon account. You can become a patron, and for a monthly contribution, you'll get access to some cool stuff, and most importantly, you'll be supporting the channel, so I can keep doing what I'm doing, keep bringing you the car content every day. And then I also have some merchandise if you want to rep the MilesPerHr brand on a t-shirt. And that does it for my announcements. Now we can get back into the exterior of the STI S209. So I mentioned that there aren't really any options, and so as we look here, what you're seeing for the S209 is just standard fare. So we've got the S209 badges up within the grille, the red accents for the lower lip, front splitter with STI, venting in the lower front portion of the bumper, and then specific to S209, apart from the badges, we've got these front canards that apply downforce and just look awesome. The LED headlights and daytime running lights are standard. The scoop, the classic WRX STI scoop, that you're going to find on other STI models. And then we can already note the wide fender flares, wider track than the standard STI by 0.6 millimeters. What do we think of the fenders? Do they look just tacked on, kind of like the Hellcat wide body, or do they look better integrated? I haven't really decided. I like the tuner look, but maybe if they had smoothed the body panels together, I might be more in love. These vents, these are part of the S209 package. They pull hot air away from the tires and brakes. Very functional, very important. More S209 badges with Subaru Tecnica Internacional on the side. These look pretty cool. More vents below that. Wide side skirt that flows into the rear fender flares. STI badge on the back of this extension. Then going back to the wheels, we have unique 19-inch BBS wheels wrapped in some bespoke Dunlop SP Sport Max tires, 600A tires, size 265 at all four corners. Truly amazing tires. I was not a huge Dunlop fan, and then I drove the GTR Nismo, and now this with these Dunlops, and I am really impressed. And then there's the braking hardware to match. 6-piston front Brembos, 4-piston rear, and ventilation for the rotors, size 13.4-inch front, 12.8-inch rear. I just really like the matte finish on these wheels. So nice, and contrasts the metallic finish of the World Rally Blue so well. I think I probably would choose, for my personal S209, I would go the crystal white pearl with the matte gold. I just really like the white on gold combo, but this is a really good look as well. Can't go wrong between these two options. In profile, it's an STI with more of a stance because of the widening of the fenders and the thickness of the wheels and tire package. It has more of a low down presence than I think a standard STI. And this one really builds on that Type RA from 2018. A lot of the similar aerodynamic work, body work to the outside, just going the extra mile with the power now for the S209. Getting to the back, oh, I missed one very important thing. The carbon fiber roof. Beautiful carbon fiber, unique to the S209. Helping save weight and looking good doing it. Getting to the back, the rear 3/4, looking good. Not as much as I love the front quarter, but the rear 3/4 is a nice look with that rear wing. Moving our way into the back, and the wing just dominates the view here. Also made of carbon fiber, S209 on the wing tips, adjustable manually, and just doesn't look cheap. Some of these wings very much look cheap. This one doesn't look cheap. Solid metal, high quality, good looks. LED tail lights, also standard, more S209 badging on the rear. Then we get down here to some pretty large quad exhausts. I mean, as a proportion of the rear fascia, pretty good size exhaust tips. I don't know the measurement of the diameter, but visually they carry some weight. Those within a black plastic diffuser that doesn't look cheap. Doesn't look cheap like plastic can be. Those are some really nice looking exhausts. And that's pretty much it for the S209 exterior. I forgot about these vents in the back. Again, pulling out some hot air from the brakes and tires, and just looking awesome. So those are the treatments for the S209 on the exterior. I like how it looks. It looks just like a machoed up STI. It's been hitting the pump, getting to the gym. And this time it's not just visual. With the extra power, it really has been hitting the gym. All right, so let's get on into the interior of the S209. And on our way inside, we'll note the smart key access. So you just press this and it will lock the door with the key fob in your pocket. Pull on the handle, it'll unlock the door, and you've got access. So I'll just get this right out of the way. though this car costs $64,000, do not come with high, perhaps even luxury car expectations for the cabin. That is not where your money is going. Your money is going to the handling and performance. It's not going to the cabin quality. So you're pretty much getting an STI cabin with a few touches that I will point out as we go through. We are going to have this Alcantara in the door panels with a nice contrast stitching. Alcantara on the armrest in the door. Auto windows for the front two. The rears are manual. Plastic down here. Cheapness down here. Soft touch up here. Looking at the seats, these are a nice mixture of leather borders with this kind of gray stripe along the outsides, and then Alcantara inserts. They are Recaro seats, STI badge right in the center, and then S209 embossed on the headrest. Leather headrest. Looks really good. Not too flashy. No lumbar control, unfortunately, and no adjustments for these side bolsters, which I kind of wish they could come in, squeeze you tighter, but no, we just have forward and the back angle. Pull that to open your fuel gate. S209 on the carpeting in red with a gray stitched border, metal kick plate, metal pedals, traction control right here, and then press that to open your trunk. Now pressing that won't send the trunk flying because it has the weight of the wing on the back, but it will open your trunk, and then you can see pretty good sized cargo area. I will list the spec for cubic feet of space right here, and then we're noting the red protective cover for your rear flexible draw stiffener, which, as we can see, is this horizontal bar with a piston and spring combo that does stiffen up the rear flexibly. It's a somewhat ironic name, flexible, stiff. Haha. Anyway, the trunk is good sized, and you can fold the seats 60-40 split folding. Just pull up on these tabs right here, and they go forward, and they fold very flat, which I really like. Same deal, fold flat. And so therefore, as long as your cargo can fit under that bar, then you've got a long area to carry stuff with you. And if you've got tall items, they'll fit in the back seats here. Under the carpet here, not a big storage area. Small one. You've got some tools for changing your tire, but no spare tire. Can't recall it. This might be the inflation kit. Yep, inflation kit. Like that they still brand it STI even though it's in styrofoam. That's funny / awesome. Seats go on up, and we can also note the blood red, or maybe even almost a wine color red for the seat belts. I love color contrasting seat belts. It just does something. And the rear seats themselves, let me close this trunk here. No power operation, as to be expected. More of the Alcantara and contrast stitch on the doors, still soft touch up here, and then hard plastics down here. Not big cuppies for water bottles, but decent amount of space. And then climbing in the back, you'll note no armrest or anything to come down here, but you do have that gray stitching, the Alcantara inserts, which I love the continuation of Alcantara insert there and Alcantara insert here. Give the rear passengers a feeling of specialness as well. Slot behind the seat, both driver and passenger. And that's my driving position at 6 feet tall. So you can see there's really a good amount of legroom. I wish the foot pockets were a bit bigger so I could slide my legs further forward and reduce that knee angle, but as is, pretty generous digs back here. And headroom is also great. Yeah, the hairs on the top of my head are scraping, but if I just slouch just a tiny bit, then I really have a lot of room. Shoulder room's good. And then here's your view of the front cabin. As far as rear passenger accommodations are concerned, you've got a pair of cup holders here, and that's about it. No DC socket, no USB, no USB-C, so you're gonna have to be sharing from the USB ports that are in this center cubby here. At least there are 2 of them and a DC socket, so should be able to give your rear passengers some charge when they need it. Grab handles in some cheaper plastic, coat hooks, and a light for the rear passengers, but they don't get their individual lights. Yeah, you can feel the cheapness of the material, but it's all kind of just functional. At least the seat back is the full leather. This isn't like a plastic piece on the back of the seat, even though it kind of looks it just because of the way that the stitching is such. But no, that's the leather from the seat. All right, so space for rear passengers for sure. 4 adults comfortably, 5 in a pinch. And then moving towards the front. I already mentioned all of the stitching and carpet, but we also have this checkered flag with some texture to it. That's neat. And the S209 badge right there. Let's hop in the front and see what we've got going on here. So I probably wouldn't be this close to the steering wheel normally in a car, but 2 things. 1, the steering wheel comes out pretty far as standard. Now you can telescope it further towards you, but that's as far back as it goes. Tilt is, there's not a lot of tilt there. There's some, but yeah, so it comes out pretty far as standard, and also my body type is such that I have a longer torso and not super long legs, so I have to be this close to make sure I can fully depress the pedal for the clutch. But yeah, so that's the setup here. We've got some controls on the steering wheel for your media, STI badge front and center, cheapy plastic center cap. Apart from that, cheapy plastic down here, but Alcantara for the border of the wheel. Looks and feels excellent with gray contrast stitching in the center. Your lights are over there. Showed you those controls over there. The wine red continues across the dashboard. And then you have an S209 badge off to the right hand side in front of the passenger. This is not ultra, it's some give to the material up on the dashboard, but it doesn't look high quality. Back to the steering wheel, cruise control over here, not adaptive cruise control, not lane keeping assist. You don't have those active safety goodies like you get in other cars. And these paddles, obviously it is a manual transmission car, so they're not changing gears. You are spraying water in your intercooler. It's like push to pass power. You spray the water, get a little more power, and you've got your forward momentum right there. Wiper controls, and then your nicely designed STI engine start stop button. In front of the driver, very analog here, small digital instrument cluster in between analog gauges. Nothing really to these gauges. I wish they had like a red backing, not just red bordering. Red or some contrast in color, even blue. So they don't really bring you into the experience. I almost wish they went that extra mile with the S209 model. But here we can see our diff control, and then by pressing these controls on the steering wheel, I can change what's on the top of the display. Which drive mode am I in? Am I in sport, sport sharp, or intelligent? Miles per hour readout, speed readout in digital. I think drive time. and then nothing else. And then we have your how good are you on fuel up top. No head-up display, but over here we do have a secondary monitor showing a few pieces of information. You've got your clock off to the left, outside temperature off to the right, and your climate on the inside. What temperature do you have it set at, and then how much fan speed do you have. Below that, we can change up the information by toggling through this. But let's go back. Right now we've got fuel economy data. Then if I go up, you have a fake analog clock with your date. This is how you configure some of the settings. Over here you have your boost, acceleration percentage, interesting, and miles, how long have you been driving. And then you have a G meter of sorts. May just be your yaw angle, yaw degree. And that's that for that monitor up there. I do like that this is a leather or fake leather piece with stitching. Just brings some quality to the cabin, whereas all this is plastic. Down here, we're working with a couple of years ago technology, but at least they have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard on this 6-inch color infotainment touchscreen with some analog controls. Volume over here. Yeah, decent sound system. Physical tuner. And then home button takes us eventually here. This is Starlink, Subaru's branded infotainment software. Settings, apps. Let's go into apps. You can see CarPlay and Android Auto. No navigation and no sunroof. Two things you're missing out on this car, but at least you have CarPlay and Android Auto. That pretty much solves all of your infotainment problems. You can just use those exclusively and you will be fine. Single zone automatic climate control with some big rubberized controllers. Cubby in here with another DC socket. And then we've got your key, which is just like any other STI key. I wish they had like S209 badging or something that made you feel more special. Again, $64,000. I understand they put all their effort into the performance, but just give me something more special. Special gauges, special key. STI with black, piano black surfacing behind that. That will scratch and smudge. Hopefully not too often. And then a leather wrapped 6-speed shifter with crazy short throws. And then to get to reverse, pull up, over, and down. Brings up your backup camera. Not the most high resolution thing, but it is a wide angle. Super wide angle, actually. That's great. And then a full-on physical e-brake. Love that. For all your all-wheel drive maneuvers. There won't be many of them. And then we've got S209 number plate. You can see this is a press vehicle, so it is not even counted among the 209 listed. 00 of 000. Then your drive selector over here, sport off to the left. And then that will change that readout there. Sport sharp. And then press for intelligent mode. That basically, well, we'll get into that with the driving impressions. Your center diff. Do you want it auto or manual? And then your cup holders. And these appear to be decent size ones, which makes me wonder, could it fit my large water bottle? It's time for the large water bottle test, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get into it with the cup holders. Oh, that almost works. I mean, it doesn't really work, but it almost does. That could kind of work in a pinch. No, I'm not gonna pass that. That's me giving credit where it's not due. Door pockets. Well, that's not gonna stay. Yeah, that's a fail. I don't even want to go to the glove box. Is it gonna fit in here? Kind of. I mean, that kind of works. I don't like it as a solution, especially if it swings this way while you're driving and when you're trying to change gears. Oh man, I'm trying to give you a benefit of the doubt here, S209, but it's just not feeling like it. I don't like the center storage. Will it fit in the center console? I mean, kind of. And because the center console is hardly usable as an armrest, it's so far back that I guess that kind of works. All right, okay, I'll give you a pass for this. You've got a lot of almost solutions, and I guess all of the almost add up to something. No, you know what? I'm sticking by my guns. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. The S209 fails the large water bottle test. I'm sorry. I'm also dying in here, which means I should probably just start the car, huh? That makes sense. Yeah, I was getting all kinds of foggy. Look at that. Okay, so let's address the sun visors for a second. We've got a cubby back, or a slot back here that can slide some papers. Got a mirror. It does pivot, thankfully, but it does not slide, and no additional visor here, which means that's not great. Not great. All right, so a pretty standard STI cabin. Some niceties. I'm glad it has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The leather on the shifter feels good. There is good accommodation for rear passengers. The seats feel nice, although I wish the bolsters could adjust. But it can't fit a large water bottle, and there's definitely cheapness to be found. And so that is the interior of the WRX STI S209. It's time to fire this bad boy up, give it some revs, and then hit the streets and canyons. All right, it's time to get to the meat and potatoes of this review, which is to say, let's talk about the performance. What the S209 brings to the table for its $64,000 that no STI has kind of brought forward before is more power. Subaru fans have been craving for this, and we finally have it. The Type RA in 2018, it was the look, it was the exclusivity of only 500 models, but it didn't bring the power. The S209 has the extra power. We have 341 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque, up 31 horsepower over the standard STI, and that's thanks to a larger HKS turbocharger, bigger fuel injectors, a freer flowing intake, high flow fuel pump, and higher boost pressure, up from 16.2 to 18.9. And so with all that, does it really transform the car? No. But you can feel the difference above 3,500 RPM. It really gets moving. 0 to 60 is now 4.5 seconds. Top speed is 165 miles an hour. This car gets cooking. It's not going to be the absolute fastest thing out there, but what you're also getting with the S209 is handling precision. So what STI brought to the table is tuned springs, Bilstein dampers. We have new bushings. We have a front tower strut brace, and then we have those draw stiffeners that I mentioned during the walk around, one the rear, one the front. We also have a stiffer rear anti-roll bar. So there's a lot here to make the handling, sorry I had to avoid the bicyclist, to make the handling that much sharper. So sharper handling mixed with, I should have also mentioned these, the Dunlop SP Sport Max tires that I showed in the exterior walk around. I was so impressed with them during the Nissan GT-R Nismo review, even more impressed with them now. Here on this STI S209, they do an incredible job of gripping and gripping and gripping with that all-wheel drive system, the center locking differential. I mean, there's so much here, clearly. I'm just rattling off performance hardware, but how does it come together? Pretty exceptionally. This car really knows its way around a corner. I really want to get this to a racetrack, but instead all I have is a canyon road at my disposal. It's still good, but I want a track to really see if that extra whipped cream on top to the STI formula comes through, shines through in the performance. But out here on a canyon road, there are a few things that are going to be faster than this around a corner. Faster and with more confidence around a corner. And I just love the fact that it has a hydraulic steering rack. We're clinging to the tried and true performance stuff here. It's not an electrically assisted rack, which they will no doubt introduce with the next generation, but this is a hydraulic rack, and the steering feel, sorry, I've caught up to traffic, so I'm going to turn this bad boy around. But the steering feel is just tremendous. Mid-corner, you have a great sense of what those front tires are doing. And there's some deadness on center, but the moment you're turning the wheel, you're really getting something from the front tires. Love this transmission as well. Shortest throws I've honestly experienced on a manual gearbox. It's like notch, 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 gear, gear, gear. So crisp. You have that nice shunk into the gear. So it's giving you that confidence that you haven't missed the shift, haven't not fully gotten into gear. Man, this is just a great recipe. I'm more bemoaning the fact that performance cars aren't like this anymore, that we've really turned a corner here with all of the driving aids and, you know, desensitization as a driver. I'm bemoaning that, but this car is not that way. It is a hoot, an absolute hoot to wind it out through a canyon road. The engine's great. I love the noise from that Boxer 4-cylinder. That'll miss too. I mean, they'll probably still have a Boxer for the next generation STI, but it won't sound exactly like this. We've also got the induction noise. We've got the turbocharger spooling up. We've got the wastegate noise, the blow off. This car is a cacophony of wonderful noises. The exhaust is like, it's kind of there to help out, but the other noises this car makes are great. I'm really tickled by this car. Just a weird thing to say, sorry. It's an old expression. Look it up. I am pleased by this car. This car is very satisfying to drive. It tickles me. This car's great. The question though is it worth $64,000? You have to really be a Subaru collector and enthusiast to want to spend that kind of money. It's 64 grand. You can buy a lot of car for 64 grand. Here are some examples. You can buy the Audi RS3 for like $57,000, makes 394 horsepower. Took that one to a track. It blew my mind. That car was awesome. It rotated because of the staggered wheel setup, and it was so good. So that car, you have the Mercedes-AMG CLA 45S. That makes 416 horsepower, and both those cars, the R3 and the Mercedes, are going to be quicker to 60 than this. And then you have, if you want a bargain, but not as exciting really, is the BMW M235i Grand Coupe, but that's going to be way cheaper, $47,000, 301 horsepower, so less power than this. But you know what all those cars don't have? They don't have a manual gearbox, and they don't have a hydraulic rack. And those things are just worth so much to me from an engagement standpoint as a driver. I keep having to make all these U-turns. Sorry. Dead ends in traffic. I think it means I can full-on accelerate. That's cool. Did I mention the push-to-pass power from this intercooler? That's pretty sweet. Gives you a second of water on the intercooler. And I swear it works. I know you can't really hear anything, and it's totally like, maybe it's a placebo effect, but I swear it works. You press it, and you got a little extra juice. You're moving. Oh man, this car's stable. So darn stable. Good compression right here. Whee! Okay, so I mentioned all the competitors. The question is whether this is worth more, being the exclusive model that it is, the end of an era for the STI as it currently sits, this current generation. Is it worth that 64 grand? If you're a diehard enthusiast, abso-freaking-lutely. If not, either the RS3 or the CLA 45, I would pick the RS3. I had so much fun with that car. Would be worth that kind of money. If you want to save a lot of coin, you can get just the regular WRX STI, which is 90% of this. It's 90% of the fun that I'm having behind the wheel. and the other 10 grand you put into modifications. You replicate what we've done here with the 209. Yes, you're not going to have the fine-tuned engineering of the STI, of Subaru Technica, but it's going to be pretty close. And yeah, you can boost it up too, so it'll make more power. So if you're not an absolute diehard collector, it's probably not going to be worth it to you. You've got some other options, and you can save a lot of money and just get the regular STI. But if you are a diehard collector, I salute you, and I understand why would you spend that money, why you would spend that money. This is going to really hold its value, I imagine, and gosh, that's fun. That's my conclusion. Sayonara. I'm gonna go drive hard through canyons now.